Well, we talked about Title VII, and that's a quick summary of it on the slides that are keeping the textbook. We talked about age discrimination. We talked about disability and GINA. The one area that we didn't have expanded in the other set of slides is on sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is generally in two flavors. One is quid pro quo, and the other is hostile environment. Quid pro quo, generally speaking, we refer to this as old-fashioned. I wish I could say it doesn't exist in the United States, but let's just say that it is much harder to do it today than ever in the past because, first of all, employers are not tolerant of this type of misconduct, and the employees are not tolerant of this type of conduct. But it'd be a situation where the boss says to an attractive subordinate, hey, you should go out to dinner with me on Friday night, and the subordinate says, well, I'm married, or I don't care, or I really don't want to, and the person says, well, I'm going to fire you if you don't go out to dinner with me on Friday night. So that's quid pro quo. Again, because of very obvious things happening in our society, it's much harder to articulate. It's very difficult to say it doesn't exist. It's just, I haven't seen a true quid pro quo claim in probably 10 or 12 years. It's just not what's happening. On the other hand, hostile environment claims are relatively easy to articulate, and we see a vast number of them. The shame of the hostile environment is that the EEOC is not exercising a gatekeeper function, so we get a lot of these loose cases where he said, she said, they said, and it's unfortunate because the EEOC is horribly behind, over a year behind in investigating EEO complaints, and that doesn't serve justice. I mean, if someone is legitimately discriminated against, they should have a resolution in 60 to 90 days. They certainly shouldn't have to wait a whole year just to have the EEOC initiate the investigation. Now, what happens is the employer gets a discrimination complaint and they're required to respond in 2 weeks or 20 days, and then it just sits there for another year. But they put a lot of pressure on the employer to respond quickly. Frequently, the employer needs to ask for more time. But again, it doesn't do justice because justice isn't what it's about. The EEOC, unfortunately, needs to exercise more of a gatekeeper function and talk to the people and find out if these are really appropriate for federal involvement so that the agency's resources can be used on more legitimate cases and bigger cases. Yes, sir?
The quid pro quo,
yes,
that was being thrown a lot in the Hillary scandal.
Yes, but it's used in a slightly different capacity. What that is about the Clinton Foundation. It's the same Latin. In Latin, it just means something for something. It means literally something for something. And what they were saying is, the deal was if you give $10 million to the Clinton Foundation, we will take care of you over at the State Department, and we'll try and help your country get some type of maybe military aid or whatever it is they want. And the other deal is that if you wanted a big high-profile speaker like Bill Clinton, then if you gave money to the Clinton Foundation, then they would make Bill Clinton available. Of course, the former president was a hot commodity, and that's, obviously it's a very significant issue. That's quid pro quo also. So a good example of the same cliche being applied in a slightly different context.